Hey guys, it's Sabrina, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a book haul. Before I start this book haul though, I want to say that this is going to be the last book haul you see for a little bit, at least. At least a little bit. I should be able to do that. I have such a problem. I have way too many books, and I just keep buying them, because it's like the only serotonin I can get these days. But my shelves are overflowing. Like, I wish I could show it to you, but I'm not going to because my room is messy. I just have books packed up in front of my shelves because there's no room on the shelves anymore. I also just, I don't have money anymore, so I can't keep buying books. So I'm publicly saying this so that you can hold me accountable. I'm going to stop buying books for at least a few months. I have to stop. It's such a problem in my life. So I figured I'd do one last big book haul as a last hurrah. I took the bar exam, so I let myself buy some books. I'm going to talk about them now, and then we're not going to have another one of these videos for a bit, so enjoy it while it lasts, I guess is what I'm saying. I've got a fair mix of stuff here. I've got some classics, some literary fiction, some nonfiction, so let's just get into it. I think first I want to talk about the 3 classics that I bought. I don't really know much about the classics themselves, so I'm just going to share the name. The first of which is The Odyssey. I wanted this book for 2 reasons. First of all 3 of these classics are going to be in a video. I'm not going to share what that video is about yet. I'd like to see if you can guess, actually. But The Odyssey I also really want to read because the movie's coming out next year, and I want to be in the know. I'm so excited for it, and I want to have read the book beforehand, and have the beautiful penguin hardback cover. Cloth-bound cover is what I meant to say. The next classic that I got is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. I think everyone knows what Alice in Wonderland is about. This cover's a little dirty, but I don't feel like returning it, so I'm going to deal with it. And then the last classic I got is Dante's Inferno. Again, if you know what these books are for, let me know, because I think I haven't seen anyone else do a video like this yet, so we'll see. But yes, those are 3 classics, so let's get into some of the fiction that I bought. The first on my stack is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Susan Collins. This is a prequel to The Hunger Games that follows President Snow's story, I believe. It came out a couple years ago, and I wasn't interested in it at the time, but now that there's yet another Hunger Games book coming out, I decided that I really want to read all of them. So I had to buy this one. I had to. It was out of my hands. And, I don't read any YA these days, honestly. I've totally outgrown that phase, but I am excited to go back into the Hunger Games and see what I think. And it will be exciting to have, fresh stories to read once I'm in the series again. Next is one of my most anticipated books of 2025. I'm so excited about it, and that is The Unworthy by Augustina Bazterrica. I can never say her name. I don't know how to say it to this day, and I always just guess. This is the author of Tender is the Flesh, which was one of my favorite horror books of the past couple years. I don't know what this one is about. I think it follows a convent and nuns and stuff. That's all I know. I just know that it's horror. I just know that it's this author, and that makes me so excited to pick it up. Then we're gonna have some books I don't know much about in this stack, because I like to go to Barnes & Noble and just pick up anything. And I read the back when I pick it up, but then I don't read it again because I like going into books blind. So the next book I have is Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, or The Evening Redness in the West. This is a classic American novel. It says it's based on historical events that took place on the Texas-Mexico border in the 1850s. It's an epic novel that traces the fortunes of the Kid, a 14-year-old Tennessean who stumbles into a nightmarish world in which the market for Indian scalps is thriving. That's all it tells me. I picked up this book because I read The Road by the author a couple years ago, and I liked it, but everyone was saying that this is his best work, and so that intrigued me. I'd like to read more by this author, so I figured I'd give this a shot. And it has so much hype behind it, so I wanted to pick it up. Next is another author that I've just been dying to try, and that is Clarice Lispector, and this is Near to the Wild Heart. I don't know anything about this. The back doesn't even give you a synopsis. I think it says that this is her first book. Yeah, this is her first book. I've just been seeing a lot of quotes from Clarice Lispector on Instagram particularly, and every single time the quote is just amazing, and I want to tattoo it on my skin. So I really want to pick up her work, and I saw this at the bookstore, and I really like these editions where when you put them together it forms a head. So I don't know, I just bought it. I wanted to buy it. I wanted to read something by her, so here I am. Then we have a book that's been much hyped and that I just have wanted to read for so long, and that is Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I don't totally understand what this book is about. I know that it has something to do with like a young man who's a drunken addict and a poet and who's obsessed with like martyrs and becoming one. I just know that everyone who has picked up this book has absolutely loved it. I've wanted to read it ever since I first heard about it, but the fact that it's so beloved is making me want to read it even more. And I don't know, it was buy one get one half off. I don't even think I took advantage of that. I love how they put the sticker right on the fucking name though. Like you couldn't put it off to the side, no. You had to put it right up, like that's obnoxious, Barnes & Noble. Next book is Pink Slime by Fernanda Trias. I don't remember what this is about. I know it's a translated book. Okay, so this book is about a city that's ravaged by a mysterious plague, and it follows a woman who tries to understand why her world is falling apart. That's all I need to know. Like, that intrigues me alone. The cover, the name, I'm loving it all. This is another book, though, that I've seen some people talk about and have really hyped up for me. So when I saw it at Barnes & Noble, I just grabbed it, and that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. Okay, so next, we're going to get into some nonfiction, and then we'll go back to the fiction at the end. So this first nonfiction I'm very excited about. It's kind of like a little out of the ordinary for me. I guess not, but like a little bit. And I just say that because I usually read like political nonfiction, but I saw Red Comet, The Short Life and Blazing Art of Sylvia Plath by Heather Clark, and I had to get it. If you know anything about me, you might know that The Bell Jar is my favorite book. It's problematic, yes, and I won't like stick up for it in that way, but I read that book as like a teenager with mental illness, and like it really hit hard for me. So I've loved that book and Sylvia Plath ever since. I'm not a big like poetry girl, so I haven't really read her poetry, but I'm so interested in her life and her story, and I've heard really good things about this biography. And for some reason, I'm like really into biographies right now, or at least the idea of them. I haven't picked any up, but I really want to read some. So if you have any biography recommendations, please leave them down below. But yeah, I would just love to learn more about Sylvia Plath, so I wanted to pick this up. It just sounds so good. This is my problem though, because I go into Barnes & Noble, and it's not like I'm just looking at fiction. I'm looking at every shelf. I'm in the philosophy section. I'm in the biography section. I'm in the new releases. Like, I can't stop. I read too widely. It's a problem. The next book I also found in the biography section, and this is a book that I've been wanting to read for years, and so I saw it and I got so excited and I picked it up immediately. And that is The Power Broker, Robert Moses in the Fall of New York by Robert A. Caro. If you watched my Books on My Christmas List video, you may have noticed this made an appearance. I read a few chapters of this for a class in undergrad that I took on residential segregation, and it talks a lot about how, like, Moses was responsible for that in New York, and the shit he did in New York to, like, underprivileged communities is just, like, insane. He really shaped New York into what it is today physically and also socially in a way. And this book definitely like critiques him. It's not like a glowing review from what I've read at least. And this is heavy. Like, it's hurting my arm just to hold it up this long. So I'm gonna put it down. But it's also one of the 100 greatest nonfiction books of the 20th century. So that's very exciting. It also says it was the winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Love that. I'm so into it. It's gonna fall if I put it here, I think. Is it gonna fall? I'll test fate. Okay, then I saw that Pluto Press was having like a little bit of a sale, and I love to support my radical indie publishers, so I bought some books from them. The first of which is The Roma Cafe, Human Rights and the Plight of the Romani People by Istvan Pogani. I thought this book was really interesting because I've never read a book about the Roma. Like, you hear about them and you often hear them referred to by the slur, the G word. I'm not gonna say it. But the Roma have just been absolutely devastated by, like, everything that's ever happened in Europe has always been targeting them for some reason. Like, Holocaust was targeting the Roma, people use that slur for them and just have all these, like, awful connotations, stereotypes associated with them. And so it's a group of people that I've always been really interested in learning more about, but I've never seen any books about them. And so when I saw this, I instantly put it in my cart. I just think it sounds so interesting. And it specifically talks about how the Roma have been devastated by the economic transition from communism to open markets. That sounds very cool as well. I don't know what it is. I just wanted to read this so bad. So here I am. Then I picked up The American Surveillance State, How the U.S. Spies on Dissent by David H. Price. This is another, I mean, the cover's pretty cool, first of all. I like the eyes. This is like another topic that I haven't read about, which, I mean, it's nonfiction. I'm sure I could find a million books I haven't read the topic of and justify buying those million books to myself because of that. But we hear a lot about like American surveillance, obviously, but I like that this book specifically focuses on how the US spies on dissent. And since I got this from like a radical leftist publisher, I'm assuming it's going to talk about how the US spies on like radical leftists. So that's relevant to me in many different ways. Just thought it was interesting, wanted to read it. I also got How We Struggle, A Political Anthropology of Labor by Sion Lazar. This talks about like labor movements and just labor in general. I didn't really read the back. She offers a unique anthropological perspective on labor agency that takes in examples from across the globe, from heavy industry and agriculture to the service and informal sectors. She asks, how do people strive to improve their lives and working conditions? How are they constrained and enabled in that struggle by the nature of the work they do, and by their own positionality in local histories, cultures, and networks? It just explores worker action like across the spectrum, and that's really interesting to me. I want to learn more about labor. I took like a labor law class in law school, and I did terribly in it because the professor was really boring, even though he was really nice. But ever since, I just like think about how important that is, you know, like as a Marxist. Reading about labor is obviously very important. So I'm trying to educate myself. I'm trying to be a good intellectual. Calling myself an intellectual is like the cringiest thing I've ever done. I don't actually mean that. I was saying that sarcastically, but I don't think that came through. So let me make that very clear. I don't view myself as an intellectual. That's cringy as fuck. Anyway, last nonfiction book on the list is Beyond Cop Cities, Dismantling State and Corporate Funded Armies and Prisons by who? Edited by Joy James. So I guess it's a collection of different people talking. A collection of essays, I guess. I hate the cops, you know? I'm just like a normal girl. So I actually wrote a policy paper in law school about police abolition, and I'm really interested in basically anything on the subject. So this is something I really want to read more about. Abolition is just a cause that's very dear to my heart, and I want to read everything I can find on the subject. So if you have any recommendations for that, leave them down below. Okay, that was the last nonfiction, so now we're going to get into the last of the like literary fiction, I think. And then I'll sum it up. The next book I have is Jane Baldwin's Another Country. I'm actually not sure what this is about. It says it's set in Greenwich Village, Harlem, in France, and it's a novel of passions, sexual, racial, political, artistic, that is stunning for its emotional intensity and haunting sensuality, depicting men and women, blacks and whites, stripped of their mask of gender and race by love and hatred at their most elemental and sublime. Very vague. I'm into it though. The thing is that I love James Baldwin so much. I talked about this a lot in like my videos from last year. It was my first year reading him, and I was just blown away by everything he writes. The two books I've read, at least. I read The Fire Next Time and Giovanni's Room. Loved both. Both made it onto my best of 2024 list. And I have one more book by him that I haven't read, but I might read that one soon, so I wanted a backup. I hope you don't hear my cat screaming in the background. My cat is screaming. Saphira, be quiet, please. Oh my god. I can't let her into my room when I'm filming because my tripod rests precariously on my bed and she will knock it over and ruin my camera. I love her so much though. I'm so sorry. Anyway, James Baldwin, I'm obsessed with. I want to read everything he's ever written. So I just wanted to have like a backlog of some of his stuff so that once I read one more, I still have like another one left, especially because I'm not planning on buying books for a while. I just wanted something else by him. And I'm excited to read more of his fiction because Giovanni's Room was really, really good. This one I would be lying if I said it wasn't a cover by, but that is Monsieur Pain by Robert Bolaño. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce Hispanic last names. I think the little thing over the end means you pronounce it with like a Y, but I'm not sure. I did not take Spanish in high school. Look at this cover though. Come on. These redesigns of his works by Picador, I don't know how to say that either, I'm obsessed with. I wanted to buy all of them, but I've never read anything by this man, so I had to hold myself back. I have, what's that book by him? 2666 on my TBR, but that one's, like, really intimidating, and I think it's, like, his last work, and it's, like, a big deal. So I figured it would be nice to start with some of his, like, shorter work that's not as intimidating to myself. And this one specifically was blurred by Ursula K. Le Guin. Love her. So this book, I don't remember what it's about, so I'm gonna have to read the back. So it follows Monsieur Payne, who receives a telegram from his friend who says that an acquaintance of hers lies in a hospital bed beset with a mysterious and apparently terminal case of the hiccups. She entreats him to use his peculiar skill set to cure him, and buoyed by her confidence, he agrees, but nothing about this case turns out to be ordinary. And soon Payne finds himself entangled in a dark and indecipherable sequence of events that sends him racing through the umbrous streets of Paris, lost and delirious. That's all I need to know. It sounds like it's gonna be like a fever dream. It sounds great. I love the title. I love the cover. I want to read something about this author. Like, it all just comes together, you know? Like, it all just comes together in the end. I hope I'm gonna love this. It has low ratings on Goodreads, but I'm gonna ignore that. After that, I picked up In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, I think is how you say his name. I don't know. This book talks about how in 1959, 4 members of a family were savagely murdered by blast from a shotgun held a few inches from their faces. There is no apparent motive for the crime, and there are almost no clues. And this author, like, reconstructs the murder and the investigation that leads to the capture, trial, and execution of the killers. Someone made a video and they talked about this. I want to say it was Margins of Marissa's Books I Want to Read Before I Die video. I want to say it was you, Marissa. I don't know if it was. If you're watching this, let me know. But I wanted to read it ever since because the person who mentioned it made it sound so interesting. And I wanted to pick it up, so I did, because there was nothing holding me back. When I get in Barnes & Noble, I go fucking insane. And it's a problem in my life because I can't control myself. Then I picked up a book that I've never heard of, I've never seen anyone talk about, and that is The Wren by Anne Enright. This is winner of the Booker Prize, actually, so I'm sure people have read this and talked about it. I just haven't seen it personally. I was really interested in this because it follows, like, a famous, like, he's not famous in real life, but famous in the book man. He's, like, a famous poet, and he deserts his wife and 2 young daughters, and the woman must reckon with inheritances, a poetic wonder and abandonment by a man who's lauded in public and carelessly selfish at home. I shouldn't say this on the internet, I don't think, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I know someone personally who has, like, an insane amount of followers on the internet, but they are just a terrible, terrible person. And I can't talk about it because I don't want their followers to, like, annihilate me. But so this is, like, a very personal thing to me, and I wanted to pick it up because I wanted to relate to it. And it's supposed to have really great writing. I mean, if it won the Booker Prize, that says a lot about it, so that makes me even more excited to pick it up. Then we have Nails and Eyes by Kaori Fujino. I don't know if I'm saying that last name right, I'm so sorry. This is a translated novel, and I wanted to read more translated novels this year, so that's part of the reason I picked it up. It also just sounded really interesting. It talks about a young girl who loses her mother, and her father blindly invites his secret lover into the family home to care for her. Oh no. As she obsessively tries to curate a pristine life, this new interloper remains indifferent to the girl, who seems to record her every move, and she realizes only too late that all that she has failed to see. I don't know, it sounds interesting. I've seen someone on Instagram read, like, these books. Like, they all look like this. I'm not sure if she read this book in particular. I think her name's, like, Read with Nicole. She has really great, like, weird book taste, and so I picked it up. It's the Pushkin Press books. I've seen these books before, and I wanted to try one because of that. And finally, we have come to the last book of the book haul, and that book is Ring by Koji Suzuki. It's so hard to read this cover. Like, try to read the author's name in that. It's difficult. This is a Japanese writer, so it's also translated, so it also picks up that goal. But the reason I picked this up is because this is the one that famous movie is based off of, and I've never seen it. It's like a famous horror movie, and it's something about how, like, a mysterious videotape warns the viewer that they will die in 1 week unless a certain unspecified act is performed. And then there's a journalist who's intrigued by his niece's inexplicable death, and he starts to investigate it. I don't know what it was about this book. I think I kept picking up, like, the sequels in the bookstore just because I haven't, like, bought them, but just picking them up to look at them because the covers looked so interesting. And so that made me be like, okay, fine, I'll read the first book, you know? I want to continue on with the series just based off of the fact that the other covers look interesting. And since this book had, like, such a big movie named after it, like, I also want to read it. It's also, like, a classic horror book, which is right up my alley. So there you go. These are all the books I bought recently, which is way too many books, and as you can see, I have a problem. Hopefully, I will deal with that and not buy any more books until, like, I want to wait until, like, at least July, because July is my birthday, so maybe I can, like, buy myself some books then. But I really, really, really need to cut back on the books that I'm buying, and I really need to, like, tackle my TBR. Maybe I'll make, like, a video series where I try to get my physical TBR down. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. But anyway, that's all for today, and I'll see you soon with another video soon. Goodbye.